6 years ago, COVID-19 was that unknown threat on the people of Iowa and people all over this country. Because of that threat, state and federal leaders took unprecedented emergency action. Well, now 6 years later, you have Republicans at the Iowa State House who are looking back at some of those decisions and questioning whether we should go through that same process again. Vaccine mandates, shutting down churches, shutting down small businesses, mask mandates. They're also looking at something else. Now, before we get into that, let's set up what the future will look like. In 2027, Iowa will have a new governor. We know that for sure because the current governor, Republican Kim Reynolds, is retiring. So there could be a scenario where Republicans still hold the majority in both the Iowa House and Iowa Senate, but there could be a Democratic governor, perhaps Rob Sand. And is that scenario what is driving this new proposal? That's what we're going to look at this week. Hi, I'm Dave Price. One of the changes is about money and the state budget, to be specific. If Iowa lawmakers cannot reach agreement during a session before July 1st, the start of the new fiscal year, then the current budget just rolls over into the new year. A Republican leader says the recent partial federal government shutdown spurred this idea, while a Democratic leader says she thinks the potential of a Democratic Governor Rob Sand in 2027 with a Republican majority legislature, that could be what is initiating this.
Yeah, that bill came from actually us watching Washington, at the congressional level. We had the longest government shutdown we've ever seen in history. So our conversations were, we don't want that to occur in Iowa, right? We want to be able to ensure that Iowa continues to function. Even if we have disagreements or conversations up here, we don't want to put Iowans at risk or jeopardy for services not being funded. And that's really the nexus of the conversation, kind of built around what we saw occur at the national level. And we don't want to repeat that in Iowa.
It is one of the most, if not the most important thing that we as legislators do every year, which is to pass budgets with state taxpayer funds. It is maybe the muscle memory of working in a bipartisan way isn't very good anymore, but that's exactly what we will be doing and will need to be doing if there's a Democratic governor next year and we have split governance.
Not from my perspective, no. My perspective, again, is just looking at what occurred in D.C., seeing the dysfunction that took place there. Again, government shutdowns disrupt services. They change folks' lives, and we want to make sure that we had in place provisions to not allow that to happen.
It is literally our job, and it's a bill that says, oh, maybe we shouldn't be doing our job. We absolutely must do our job, and Iowans will welcome it if we manage to do it in a bipartisan way.
Okay, one more angle to this, and you have to turn back to last year. Remember, you had that group of Senate Republicans who refused to go along with the Republican budget plan until the Senate Republican leadership relented and allowed a vote on the Senate floor when it came to making the use of eminent domain for a carbon pipeline project a little more difficult. In theory, if this new proposal would go through, then that threat by a renegade group like this would not be as effective because the current budget would just carry over into the next year's budget. Now, Senator Klimisch says that is not a factor in the discussions about this new budget proposal. Leader Weiner, the Democrat, says she is not so sure and still thinks that the threat of a Governor Rob Sand, a Democratic governor with a Republican legislature, that could be a significant factor in these talks. That is Inside Iowa Politics for this week.